Yes, hello, good morning. Welcome to my attempt at trying to review a recent novel. Um, it's called, written in 2013. This book is written by a chap called Patrick Dewitt, who, as I understand, is a Canadian novelist. When this book was released in 2013, it was shortlisted for the Booker Prize. And in my humble opinion, it's a fantastic story, and I want to explain to you why I think it's a fantastic story. Um, it's a story of two men in the West, the Wild West, who are hired killers. The names are Charlie and Jake. Jake is presumably the younger brother who tells the story of Charles encounters with many characters who were um, fictionally in the West around the time of the gold rush of about 1860. I can't really recommend it highly enough. It has a narrative from the point of view of the brother Jake, which is quite understated and also doesn't really attempt to hide the rough side of his life. The fact that he and his brother ride horses for weeks, days at a time. They know it's a very, very tough existence they're leading, usually relying on some kind of reward offered for the capture of or the death of these people they're hunting. They're in this story, they're hired by a man called the Commodore, who's quite a big owner of real estate, different properties, who asked them to kill a gold prospector named Herman Warm. They're given a kind of contact and they just go off in search of him. And on the way, they meet all kinds of different characters, trappers, all sorts of people who they inevitably have different dealings with. Obviously, the hot-headed brother Charlie is more likely to sort of act with his trigger hand first and think later, whereas Jake's a little more restrained, usually the more sensible, quiet brother. Although both of them are equally capable of what they do. Jake seems to see that somehow the life of a high killer isn't the most ideal existence in the world. Yet he determines to eventually quit the life and carries on anyway. After 200 pages of frankly brilliant writing, they finally arrive back at their mum's house. Of all things, Charlie has lost a hand. Jake Jake helps Charlie get back. It follows a very, very frank and earnest conversation with the mother, who obviously they both love. The story is a pretty powerful story of a man's attempt to better himself, yet at the same time he is incapable of doing that. What little money they actually have, they lose. At one point, their money is stolen from a cabin they both lived in for a period of time. Wherever they go, disaster seems to follow. There's a scene in the book where they visit quite early on a saloon where the trappers live or reside, and after they leave, the whole place gets burnt to the ground. Severing Jake's contacts or attempted attempts to realise his hope of a romantic dream that he just can't possibly pursue. At the end of the day, they're both quite poor. They've lost the money they had. They're hoping they're a bit wiser, but you would hope that maybe it's learning experience for them. Of course, it's fictional, but the realisation of the characters is superb. There was a film that appeared about 5 years after the book was written, which is pretty good and features two actors, Joaquin Phoenix, yeah, and the other chap, I don't remember his name offhand, but they're brilliant. The film was a pretty good depiction of the characters. The book, I reckon, is a fantastic little story in itself. So I recommend it. I recommend you give it a try. It was written in 2013. Very light.